Hey guys, welcome back to another list, and today I am doing yet another top 10 movies that got the wrong rating. Now, I already explained the rules in my review. No, not review, my first video that I've done. If you haven't seen it, you probably should. You don't have to, but I think you should probably should. Just saying, if there's any movies that I missed, let me know, or go see my other one, my other video. All right, let's get started. Number 10, Poltergeist. Current rating PG, should be PG-13. I saw this movie, and I don't think this movie is really worth being PG. It's a little intense. There's some frightening imagery, and even a scene where a guy rips his own face off, which is a little on the gory side. Now, I don't think it's R level worthy. It's definitely at least a light PG-13. All right, number 9, Inside Out. PG, should be G. I don't think there's anything wrong with this movie in order for it to be PG. I get it's some mature subject matter in the movie, some adult jokes, but there were adult jokes in the other Pixar movies that were G. And personally, I don't really see this movie having the same rating as Jaws or Indiana Jones. This movie has really nothing too bad in it for it to warrant a PG. All right, number 8, Ernest and Celestine. PG, should be G. Once again, similar to Inside Out, there is literally nothing wrong with this movie. There's not anything graphic or anything inappropriate in this movie at all. I don't even think there was an adult joke in this movie. The only thing I could think of why it would get a PG is that something burns down at the end. There's more intense stuff in other Pixar, in the early Pixar movies, like Toy Story 3, was more intense. So I really don't understand why this one has a PG. This one should definitely be on the BG. All right, number 7, Isle of Dogs. PG-13, should be PG. All right, wait a minute. All right, sorry. So yeah, this is number 7. I was just making sure. This movie, I wouldn't call this a movie really worthy of the PG-13 rating. Yeah, there's innuendos. Yeah, there's some violent images. There have been way worse in other animated movies I've seen that had lower ratings than this. Watership Down, for example. Even though that one will be brought up later. There was really nothing in this movie that's really bad to warrant a PG-13 rating. I mean, there's an open kidney transplant, but it's not that bad. It's actually very mild. There's a few uses of the B word, but given the fact that it's the context of dogs, it's a female dog is the original use for that word. There's one word where it was actually used as a name call, but it doesn't really matter. There's been worse swearing in other PG movies I've seen. All right, number 6, The Grudge, the original. R, should be PG-13. There is no swearing in this movie, and the violence is very mild. The only reason why I think this movie got an R is because of the frightening imagery. The 2004 remake had just the same amount of imagery, and maybe even worse, and that one got a lower rating. This one does not deserve the R rating. This one should definitely be on the mild PG-13 side. All right, not mild, medium PG-13. All right. Next one, number 5, Evil Dead. NC-17 should be R. Even though, yeah, the movie has a lot of gore and even a rape, but there's been a lot worse things in other movies. This movie does not really deserve the NC-17 rating, which is like the worst rating you can have besides X. This movie, yeah, it's violence, but the effects are very outdated. I mean, they still look pretty good, but it's definitely there's definitely a lot gorier movies out there. This one does not deserve the NC-17. I think it should be rated R. All right, number 4. No, yeah, number 4. In America, PG-13 should be R. This movie, I was shocked on how this one was even PG-13. Yeah, there's no graphic violence, but there is a sex scene that's slightly explicit, even though I did look away. It's still prolonged. And according to the IMDb Parents Guide, there's nudity in it. And then there's actually a large amount of swearing in it as well. There's like 9 F-bombs. Sure, they're faint, but still, that's a lot. And seriously, 9 F-bombs. King's Speech got an R for using 10. How did this one get a PG-13? Yeah, it was the 90s, and the ratings were a lot more laid back, but still, I think this movie should be re-rated an R at least. All right, number 3, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. G should be PG. This movie I actually haven't seen, but I needed to mention it. This movie is definitely a lot darker than the other Disney movies of what I've heard of, since I still haven't seen this one. But of what I hear, it's definitely more on the violent side, on the sensual side, and even on the frightening side. And I was hearing some of the things that happened in this movie. I'm like, yeah, that should definitely be a PG. All right, number 2, Airplane. PG should be PG-13. Obviously, this one has some swearing, crude humor, brief nudity, and some violence to it. Even though it's all very tame, it still is a little much for a PG. Definitely watch out. This one should definitely get the PG-13. Okay, now let's go through the honorable mentions. Wyatt Earp, PG-13 should be R due to surprisingly, should be light R for some surprisingly graphic gun shooting. Waiting for Guffman, R should be PG-13 for 2 brief uses of the F-bomb. Nebraska, R should be PG-13. A few uses of foul language, but nothing too bad. Light of My Life, R should be PG-13. 1 scene of violence turned this film R, and the violence isn't even that bad. The Italian Job, G should be PG. There's some content in this movie that that is a little iffy. Jaws, PG, PG-13. Some surprisingly graphic violence for a PG movie. Should definitely warrant the PG-13 rating. The Hole in the Ground, R, should be PG-13. This movie does not have enough violence or anything to be R. This movie should have been a PG-13. Army of Darkness, R, should be PG-13. This one was actually supposed to get the PG-13 rating, but the MPAA apparently hates Sam Raimi, so they slapped it with an R rating for literally no reason. So there's no graphic violence, no sexual content, or even if there is, it's very light, and there is barely any swearing, and the only F-bomb is very hard to hear. And then Darkman. R should be PG-13. There's literally no reason this movie should be R. There's 2 F-bombs. There have been worse F-bombs in Dunkirk. There were more F-bombs in Dunkirk. That was PG-13. And the violence isn't bad enough either. It's all bloodless. Yeah, the look of Darkman could be grotesque and disturbing, but once again, I've seen PG-13 movies have a lot more graphic violence than this, and disturbing imagery than this. Okay, number 1, Watership Down, PG should be PG-13. This one has been mentioned time and time again. Like, seriously, this one is very popular amongst these movies that got the wrong rating list. This movie is PG, even though I really like this movie. It does not deserve the PG rating. It should definitely be PG-13. Why? Well, if you haven't heard, this movie is pretty violent, even though I do think Plague Dogs is more violent than this. That one was actually rated PG-13, so that's probably why that one's not as controversial. This one still is a little on the violent side, and I do not think a PG is warranted. It's even rated U in the UK, which is basically G. No. Okay, so that's my list. If I missed any movies, let me know. If you have a list of your own, let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, give it a like, and I will see you guys next time.